A 17-year-old boy has died after being beaten by two nannies at a private daycare facility in Hanoi. Nguyen Ngọc Phương, a 31-year-old woman, was arrested by police of Ho Chi Minh City's District 7 to be investigated for deliberate infliction of bodily harm upon another person. A man in the northern Haiphong city was arrested for the alleged sexual assault of two girls aged 8 and 13. These are just some several cases of child abuse in recent years that I can obtain. So as you can see, child abuse has been ascending and rising more and more recently. So what is child abuse? Keeping it short, any intentional harm or mistreatment to a child under 18 years old is considered child abuse. As of 2006, according to the World Health Organization, there are 4 types of child abuse, which are physical abuse, sexual abuse, psychological abuse, and neglect. Let's go through this one by one. Starting with physical abuse. As one of the most widespread way of abusing child, any actions involving hitting like smacking, slapping, spanking with a hand or with an implement like whip, stick, belt, etc. And like in some cases has kicking, shaking, throwing children, scratching, pitching, biting, just basically harming or injuring children's body in one way or another is called physical abuse. Next up, sexual abuse. Child sexual abuse is a form of child abuse in which an adult or older adolescent abuses a child for sexual stimulation. Sexual abuse refers to the participation of a child in the sexual acts aimed towards the physical gratification of the person committing the act. It is technically physical abuse, but it's much worse, so it has its own catalog. Next off, psychological abuse. Well, there are multiple definitions for this. In 1995, the American Professional Society on the Abuse of Children defined it as terrorizing, exploiting, corrupting, denying emotional responsiveness that convey to children that they are worthless, flawed, unloved, or only off values in meeting others' needs. But in 2013, the American Psychiatric Association described it as non-accidental verbal or symbolic acts by a child's parents or caregiver that result or have reasonable potential to result in significant psychological harm to the child. Either way is greatly damaging the mental health of the child. Child neglect is a failure of a parent or other person with responsibility for the child to provide needed food, clothing, shelter, medical care, or supervision to the degree that the child's health, safety, or well-being may be threatened with harm. Neglect is also a lack of attention from the people surrounding the child and the non-provision of the relevant and adequate necessity for the child's survival, which would be the lack of attention, love, and nurturing. With all that said, pretty much everybody knows that a child abuse is illegal and causes many serious consequences. But who are the victims? What are those negative impacts? Well, not many can answer. The biggest victims of child abuse are, well, children. The abused child will suffer direct physical or psychological harms, like I have mentioned before. Children will likely have emotional and behavior disorder, have a pessimistic views of the world, thereby tend to engage in vice such as fighting, smoking, drinking alcohol, or taking drugs. As a result, it is simple to see why crime rates rise. In addition to the increased crime rate, country's economic and social burden is a cause of healthcare and welfare costs for the child protection. Another factor affected by child abuse could be the victim family itself. Families with abused child will suffer psychologically and economically. Therefore, child abuse is a problem that needs to be resolved immediately. We need the participation and intervention of all levels of government, Child Protection Association, a voluntary non-profit organization, benefactor, and most importantly, all citizens. Some of the solutions we can apply at this stage are reduce poverty, combat discrimination and violence against children through strengthening legal barriers, policies and services that benefit children.